That's right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking this journey inside the Black Vault with me. I'm your host, John Greenwald Jr., and it's been kind of a wild ride the last 24 hours since I posted that video yesterday about the new UAP footage. I'll put UAP in air quotes because I'm not buying it at this point, from 29 Palms, California, shot in 2021. Now, I'm always an advocate for all this information for being out in the open, so that I can appreciate. What I didn't, as you can tell from the video yesterday, my video that is that certain context, in fact, crucial context to understanding this UAP footage was omitted from the story when all of this was revealed. And why I say crucial is I feel that the information that is easily dug up by anybody, but I just kind of dug in trying to figure out, what was going on. The information about the base 29 Palms, the military exercise that was going on the exact same night of the UAP sighting, and the discovery of a Department of Defense video where you have aircraft flares in this video that match the formation of the 5 lights of this UAP. I think that, I would call that crucial to the story. Now, if we can separate the two, meaning discount that DoD video and differentiate between flares, which are clearly flares in this DoD video, versus the UAP, then fantastic. But all of that should be included in the story. However, it was not. When I brought that forward, I did the video yesterday. Obviously, it upset a lot of people, but that's what needs to be done. We need to see that type of context, but above all else, question why it wasn't there in the first place. Now, the reason I'm making this video for you guys is I want to essentially close this off. Some things happened since that video yesterday that I want to make sure I update all of you about. But on top of that, make sure that I'm open to new evidence. I'm not closing the case per se. 100% we'll never revisit it again. But I think at this point, some frustrating things have happened, which just makes me want to say, okay, let's just move on. Like, this is, utterly ridiculous because some of this seems like a game. Another part of it seems malicious, meaning you're purposely being misled. And the other part of it is maybe, they don't want to admit wrongdoing or oops, we didn't see this in our initial reporting and 2 years of research. And that's okay. Look, I've created videos before and have written articles, and somebody will write a comment, hey, what about this? And you go, oh, wow, I missed that, or see new information that you may have missed digging into something. All of that is okay. That's what research is all about. I make mistakes all the time. We shouldn't be afraid to admit to them. So my point being here, the complete lack of acknowledgement by those that brought this story forward at this point is silly. And it really is. I am not owed anything. Let me say that right up front. Nobody owes me anything. They don't owe me a response. They don't owe me an explanation. But generally speaking, I would think the general public does. When two people, one of which appears, I think still nightly, on a media broadcast in Las Vegas, George Knapp, when somebody is putting themselves on camera every day or near every day as an investigative journalist, and you're bringing these stories forward, if certain things contradict that I believe as I don't want to say public servant, that's probably not the right word, but as somebody who's serving the public, bringing them news, if they're really into journalism, they will acknowledge either a mistake, a shortcoming, or acknowledge, yeah, John, yeah, Mick, yeah, whomever, we've seen this, but this is why it can't be, and put a period on it, put us to shame, make us cower, walk away, do whatever you need to do, but at least deal with it, and they do not. And for me, I think the silence is deafening at this point. I believe that there is enough information and enough people that are asking them. I've seen some of their biggest fans even like, yeah, this it doesn't look good. I rarely agree with Mick or rarely agree with John or whomever, but they look like they're kind of spot on this one. I've seen that now time and time again. So you would think with that mindset that you would acknowledge it and move on, yet the silence is deafening. But what I did see was exactly as I predicted yesterday in the video. An explosion of media coverage all parroting, with the exception of two things, or two people, I should say, all parroting the exact same incomplete narrative, seemingly pushing a preconceived narrative. That's it. It's incomplete and it seems preconceived. This is UFOs, this is a triangle, so on and so forth, but they didn't tell you at all about the military exercise and so on. And the majority of every article that I've seen, with the exception of two individuals, two journalists, all of them omitted that context as well. But Gadi Schwartz from NBC and Tom Rogan from the Washington Examiner deserve kudos for bringing up the exercise. On NBC, Jeremy was confronted on it in studio. The answer, I'll let you decide on whether or not it was properly acknowledging what was going on. And then Tom Rogan, who did it in a written article for Washington Examiner. So they brought that up. So kudos to both of them, but the rest failed miserably on all of this. So that's a shame to see, but as predicted, that is exactly what happened. So we'll see as time goes on if any of these media outlets will revisit and do an update story about what is a more likely explanation, but hopefully push Jeremy and George to deal with the general public and to deal with their concerns. Because if you're telling somebody over the course of months and years that you've got all this UFO footage and you're in essence stringing the public along, and on top of that, you're a journalist that appears on television giving news every night, I do believe the general public, not any one specific person, but the general public deserves you to come forward and say, hey, let me address this and do so. So hopefully we will see that. But I wanted to kind of give some closing thoughts here so you guys had all the information at your disposal. One of the things that happened since my video yesterday was that the Pentagon responded. I tried to get it for the video yesterday, but sadly I did not. So I sat on the written article that I did in hopes that, you know, again, getting the other side. Doesn't matter if you believe the Pentagon or not. That's not what this is all about. What it is about is getting the full story. That way you have all the information. To me, even though I don't boast to be a journalist, like I said yesterday, I do try and follow journalistic principles, and the entire story versus just the piece I want you to hear is what I want to do. Not, I'm only going to give you this part and I'm going to withhold all this other stuff. That's not how I operate. That's not how I've ever operated. So publishing a DoD statement is not endorsement by me. And it doesn't mean that I believe it or I think it's gospel, but rather it's giving you all of that information. So let me go ahead and bring up one thing I want to point you to. I linked to this in the show notes, and this is a full written breakdown now of my research into what is being dubbed the Mojave Triangle UAP. And in this article is essentially an outline of the video I did yesterday, but then on top of that, all of the backstory from Jeremy and George and the Weaponized podcast, all the information that they brought forward, and then just kind of like the progression of how everything unfolded yesterday, trying to figure some of this out, then the discovery of that DoD video, and then Mick actually putting things together and actually overlaying everything and having it seem, you know, fairly spot on that these things match. So all of that is there with source links all at your disposal to try and uncover this for yourself, because you may not agree with me, and that's okay. But I just want to make sure that you have all of the information possible. So that's what this article is. It's linked down below. You will also find that Pentagon statement. I'll read it to you guys so you have it here. There is no record of communication with the base range control concerning a UAP sighting, nor of the allocation of any base resources to investigate a UAP sighting. Arrow does not have a record of this alleged event and cannot verify the authenticity of the report. Some of the other context that she had on the full quote, I published this as well. In the article, I truncated it just a little bit, but I always publish the full statements as well. But it's just for ease of reading. But the Pentagon stated, I can confirm that there were military aviation assets in the 29 Palms, California airspace, and a weapons and tactics instructor course was being conducted at the time. So in other words, she had confirmed what I had reported yesterday for you guys. So the DoD backs that up. It was all going on. You don't need to take my word for it. There are now multiple sources if you didn't believe all the links and stuff like that yesterday. But at least you have that back up there. So there's multiple supporting facts on that side. So that are going back to the article again, you kind of have access to all of that. The other thing that happened, as predicted, was that explosion of news coverage. Here's a Google News shot. You can see how much TMZ, The Mirror, Daily Mail, Barstool Sports, New York Post, MSN, Bro Bible, Unilad, The Sun. I mean, it just goes, look at this. It goes on and on and on. Most of these are all part of iHeartRadio, all their news affiliates. Again, it's that copy and paste journalism, all of which omitted that crucial context. And that's, a shame. But Tom Rogan from Washington Examiner, Gotti Schwartz from NBC News are the exceptions to that, and kudos to them for actually asking the question. So that said, though, you can see all that coverage. It's ridiculous. But one of the other things that happened was Jeremy's appearance on CBS. Now, I do support news coverage of stuff like this. Doesn't matter what I think of the particular case. News coverage is good, but news coverage that accurately covers the story. Sadly, this was yet another example of absolutely no mention of the military exercise that was going on at the time, or the video that, pretty much matches the formation of the five lights, but is clearly flares. No mention of any of that. But one of the things that came out during this was Jeremy had stated he wanted to be crowdsourcing ideas. And all of that sounds great to a national audience like CBS, and he's crowdsourcing ideas about what's going on. But from what I understand, everything that I've seen up until the recording of this video that you're watching now, Jeremy has ignored everybody who's brought up anything, not only what I've brought up or Mick has brought up, but quite a few other people. All of that is still being ignored. So I'm not entirely sure what he's crowdsourcing. And again, that's his word. But above all else, this is what stuck out to me. The newscaster in this piece had asked Jeremy, because he was referencing videos, hey, how many videos do you have? And he says, oh, I have dozens, and I released about 6. Now, my question is, dozens, where are those? Why are they being withheld? There's no rhyme or reason to withhold dozens of videos and only release a couple seconds from 5 or 6 videos. Those videos were 36 seconds at the max and 16 seconds on the low end, all depicting an event that is said to last 10 to 25 minutes. That doesn't make any sense to me on why those videos would be so short. But on top of that, where are the dozens of other ones? Now, if they're all about this case, which I kind of walked away from the CBS piece thinking that they were, why would you do that? I understand if you have to vet a single video or 1 or 2 about a case, not a problem. Totally support vetting it. But you clearly support that something happened in 29 Palms on the night of April 20th, 2021. And if you're saying that you have dozens of videos, but you're only selectively releasing 6, what's going on? Where are the other ones? I don't understand. Now, in fairness, maybe I'm just taking it wrong, and that's collectively. So over the years, he's collected dozens and has released 6. But when you add in the Omaha video, the radar, I mean, you're over 6 at that point. So I'm not really sure exactly what he means. Sadly, none of the questions posed online have been answered to kind of help us understand. So we're just left to guess. But regardless, if I'm right or wrong, doesn't matter. If it's just about this specific case or it's all these cases, what the last 24 hours has proved to me anyway, or proved again, I've seen it 1,000 times over the years, but what it's proved to me is the power of the internet. The power of the collective mindset of people that want to know the truth, that will take that evidence and analyze it. And you have a lot of people with different mindsets, different skill sets, different sets of belief, but you can now put that out there. And that's where I support Jeremy's mindset of crowdsourcing. Put it out there. Let people like Mick tear it apart. Let people like me tear it apart. Let people all over the place that you've never even heard of look at it. Why not? And then that way we can have some type of collective dialogue. But that's not what's happening here. Dozens of videos are being withheld. And then on top of that, you have this false narrative, incomplete narrative, that's being given and parroted time and time again over the course of the last day on numerous mainstream outlets that is inaccurate. And that's not helpful in the slightest at all. coverage of this topic is deserved. I said it yesterday. I've said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 times over. This specific topic, the UFO phenomena, yes, I believe there's multiple facets to it, which is why I use plural. So these UFO phenomena, UAP, whatever you want to call them, deserves more attention, deserves scientific scrutiny, deserves the mainstream media coverage, but done right. In the last 6 months to a year, we're now starting to see things fall apart. We're starting to see these not so credible videos come around. I'll bring up the Green Pyramid one. That's yet another one that has come out into the open, which I think is very easily debunked. You see a star chart put over that, and you see the actual stars, and people are still arguing that they're pyramids. Either they're sitting on other evidence that they don't want to show you, as they've admitted elsewhere, and that's not good, or they're just doubling down on a narrative that they can't prove. Either way, it's problematic. And it's such a shame because every single time this happens, it gets so frustrating. And that leads me to my absolute final thought of this video before I move on, and we'll deal with other topics later, on why it matters. And I see that on social media too. Boy, John, you're being rude. You should just let it go. What's your beef with Corbell and Knapp? Which I get a kick out of those comments because anybody who watches my stuff knows that I actually have a long history of complimenting both of them. They source anonymous sources all the time, which I absolutely hate. Yet they're the ones that intrigue me because a lot of the stuff, not all, but a lot of the stuff that they come out when it comes to leaked material pans out. I've said that so many times on this show. So when somebody fires back like, oh, what's your beef? You're just out to get them. No, I'm not. It's actually pretty rare when I go after them and call out, what I would call bad reporting. But I can't have a bias just because, I might like the guys, or I don't think they like me much anymore, but had friendships in the past. I can't do that. It's not fair to you guys. It's not fair to the readers of theblackvault.com. It's not fair just because somebody's I've had lunch with at a conference before or something like that. I'm going to go easy on them. Well, no, it's not that I'm going to go hard either, but regardless, I'm still going to hold them to the same standard that I hold anybody else, myself included. If you're going to say the house is blue, then prove the house is blue. Don't say, trust me, bro. Don't say the evidence is there, but I can't show you. Don't say a secret source told me in a garage somewhere, but I can't name them and I'm not going to reveal. That's not going to help. If the house is blue, prove it. And that's my mindset. And if that ruined a bridge, burned the bridge, well, then that's more telling than most things when it comes to this. But regardless, I wanted to close off this topic for you guys and just really drive the point home that it's important to be accurate because the topic deserves it. There's much more going on than these types of videos and flares and easily disproven imagery. There just is. But yet that's not what gets the coverage, and that's not what people are latching onto the most, sadly. And I think that people are dying on this hill. I think Jeremy doubled down when I think that was a bad move. But if he's sitting on more evidence in these dozens of videos, then show them. If you're not going to show them, then you're not interested in crowdsourcing, and don't lie to the general public in the process. Plain and simple. So for now, the story's done. Make sure you click on the link so you can see the article, all the information. I will add to that article when warranted. If any new evidence comes around, if there's any statement from the Marines, from Jeremy, from George, if they address any of this, I am very happy to make sure that stays updated, and I will continue to do so. But until then, let's move on from this. There's a lot of other cool stuff to deal with, including a document that I just got a couple days ago, which is a pretty cool thing from the Department of Defense on this very topic of UAP. Not this case, not 29 Palms, nothing to do with that, but something very cool nonetheless that kind of adds yet even more pieces to the puzzle. So I'm going to be bringing that to you in the next couple of days. But with that, I really appreciate your time tuning in. It's always a big help on this video or any of them. If you feel it's warranted, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, please make sure you're subscribed and turn the notifications on. And if you feel so inclined, There are different ways to support the channel, most of all, sharing. Make sure you pass the word about it. But if you feel like chipping in $1 or $2 or $5 to this type of research goes into FOIA requests, yes, sometimes they come with big bills. Please, I've got some ways to do that, including Patreon or one-time donations. And I always like to stress, I do not take a penny of that money. 100% goes right back into the site. No steak dinners, no new toys for my kids, no nothing like that. It is 100% goes into theblackvault.com. So that said, I really do appreciate your time, your support, and your ear. Until next time, this is John Greenwald Jr. signing off, and we'll see you then.